This is part 4 of a multi-part presentation on sampling kits that you can purchase from box stores, the different kinds and so on. So we've talked about already petri dishes and tape lifts. So what we're going to talk about now is swabs. It's the same material that you use for COVID testing or swabbing the back of your throat if you have strep throat, that kind of thing. There are two kinds. One is a dry swab, and the other kind is a wet swab, and they're used in different ways. A dry swab is where you collect the sample, you send it into a lab, no special handling instructions. It's not for viable analysis, so it can go in regular mail, no cooling. This is a dry swab. And so you can see that it's just a stick and there's a little bit of cotton on the end of it. And this is the medium, the method of transport here. So you just take it out, you swab what you want to see, you put it inside, and then you just fill out chain of custody and you're good to go. So then the laboratory will send you back a report. The other kind is a wet swab. So at the bottom of this transport tube, there's going to be an ampule of deionized water. The dry swab is used for transfer onto a microscope slide. The wet technique is used more for petri dishes. Then when you do the wet swab, then the cooling and the FedEx will have to apply because you don't want the growth to occur on the swab during transport. The reason why you use a swab is sometimes there's no other way to get access. Maybe it's a small crevice, a confined area where you can't reach in there. So a swab is a really good tool in the box to have, and there's some value to it. Then it goes to the lab, and then you have a report that's generated, and you may have to call them and ask the interpretation of the report. Just be aware that a swab can be used for both viable and non-viable. The non-viable is going to be put onto a tape lift. The viable is going to be put into a petri dish. And the limitation of this sampling technique is that it relies on two transfers. One is the transfer of the material that's on the surface onto the swab, and then when it gets to the lab, the transfer from the swab onto the medium, whether it's a tape lift or a petri dish. So you're always going to have an underreported value. You can tell what's there, but just not how much is there. It's easy to use. Bob Bennett, Farsight Management. It's better use Farsight than hindsight.